Hey guys, my name is Daniel, and in this video, you'll get to see an actual sample from my classroom. Now, due to confidentiality, you won't be able to see or hear my students, but you can get a taste of what it's like to be an online teacher from my perspective. Now, I teach on Outschool, and most of my classes are sports themed, but you can teach whatever you want on Outschool. If you want to teach from home and apply to Outschool, you can use the link in the description below. If you see my face pop up when you sign up, that'll make me your referring teacher, and I can help you get hired and find success on Outschool too. Just shoot me an email and we can get in touch. All right, let's get into my classroom setup. So I have my MacBook Air here plugged in, charged and ready to go. I also have a water bottle because it's important to stay hydrated during class. I have a blank piece of paper and a pen because I always think I'm going to remember stuff that happens in class, and I never do. So I like to write things down in case there's any future class ideas that I think of during class or any important information my students share. Sometimes there's a safety issue and I want to write down the time something happens. So always keep a notepad or a piece of paper with you and a pen. I also use Google Slides in my classroom, and for the purpose of this YouTube video, I'll pop those on the screen as I'm going through them with my students. That way you can kind of see what they're seeing. Behind me, you can see my beautiful, boring, minimalistic gray background. I like having a blank canvas behind me because I just feel like it helps students in my class sort out their thoughts a little bit by seeing some blank space. I know I'm in the minority of teachers because it seems like 99% of us like to have visuals, maybe a map, something exciting behind them. That's totally fine, and I don't object to that. I just feel like the blank background kind of vibes better with my classes and my style. Let's talk about the class I'm going to be teaching today. It's called Baseball Talk. It's 45 minutes and it meets every Saturday. It's an ongoing class on Outschool. I charge $15 per student per class, which means I'm taking home about $10 per student because Outschool keeps 30%. With 10 students enrolled for today's session, I'm going to be making about $100 in 45 minutes. The students are ages 8 to 13. I've had most of them in my classroom before, but there are a couple new students I'll be meeting for the first time today. All right, let's talk about how I structure this discussion-based class. The first 5 minutes of class are spent on classroom rules, expectations, and a quick icebreaker. The next 10 minutes is for open discussion that's mostly student-led. Students can bring up any topic they want. They can ask questions as long as it's baseball related. The next 10 minutes of class are spent on a discussion topic that I prepare ahead of time. We spend the next 5 minutes playing a game. Then we go to a second topic that I prepare for the next 10 minutes of class. I leave the next 5 minutes of class open for questions or comments. We wrap up, we say goodbye. I always have a couple of backup topics ready to go in case my students go through these quickly. Sometimes my students are brief with their responses. Sometimes half of the class doesn't show up, so there are fewer kids talking. And sometimes I just overestimate how much time we want to spend on certain topics. So I have this overall structure, but I try to be super flexible based on the group of students that day. So I like to start class exactly at the class start time. We have about 2 minutes before that time. My students are in the waiting room right now, but I'm just waiting for the clock to tick down. Then I'll click admit all and let them into my classroom and we'll start. Hey everybody, welcome. Welcome, my name is Teacher Daniel and this is Baseball Talk. Some of you guys have been in this class before, so welcome back. But I know for some of you, it's your first class with us today. So welcome aboard, we are happy to have you. I like to start every class by sharing some classroom rules just to make sure we're all on the same page, and then we can get started. We'll talk some baseball. So most important rule in this class is always to be respectful. Make sure that we're always being kind, we're being polite, and even though we are sports fans, we don't trash talk in this class or make anyone feel bad. It's okay to disagree with each other, but just make sure that you're polite and you're respectful about it. All right, next thing is to turn your video on to check in at the beginning of class. I think everyone's got their video on, so thanks for doing that, guys. It is an Outschool rule. Next thing, raise your hand to speak. So I won't know if you have something to say unless you raise your hand or click the raise hand button on Zoom. You just have to click participants, then you can click raise hand from there. I don't force anyone to talk. If you're more of a listener, that is okay, but I do love when my students participate. So the more you raise your hand, the better in this class. All right, and then the next thing, if you want to type any messages out, you can use the chat box on Zoom as well. Just know that that is set to host only, so the messages go straight to me. No one else will see your message. So that's kind of like a private message system if you want to let me know anything or ask a question in the chat. And then the last thing, just remember to click mute when you are finished talking. Just because we do have 10 kids in this class, sometimes the background noise could get a little bit loud. Everyone's got their own background noise in their house. Sometimes my dog will bark. You guys might hear that. So if you click mute when you're finished, it just lets us hear the next person talk. And like I said, there's not too much background noise in the classroom. All right, so those are my rules, guys. Pretty simple stuff, but I like to do an introduction too. That way we get to know each other a little bit. So for the introduction today, you can say two things. You can say your name first, and then what's a baseball fact about you? Not really a record maybe that you know or a statistic, but something about you personally, like your favorite team, maybe your favorite player, or something that you want to share. You like to play baseball. Could be really anything that you feel comfortable sharing. So I'll go first. My name is Teacher Daniel, and I'm a big Yankees fan. That's my favorite team ever since I was a kid, and I've always stuck with them. And let's hear from you guys. So anyone else want to raise their hand and share? Yeah, let's go to... All right, sounds good. Well, thank you everyone for sharing. Next thing I like to do in my classes is open it up to you guys and hear any baseball thoughts that you had, anything that you want to share. It could be some news and notes maybe you heard over the past week, or just something that's been on your mind that's related to baseball. So anything goes in this section. Who would like to share? Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. You guys mentioned a lot of free agents that have signed, but I've been kind of looking at the guys that haven't signed yet because I don't know which team they're going to choose, but clock is kind of ticking in this offseason now. We're about halfway through. But let's move on, guys. I wanted to ask you a question, and this is a would you rather question. So I'll give you two situations, and you have to pick one or the other. Which one would lead to more success on a baseball field? So here's option one. This is a team called the Sluggers. They're a team of offensive juggernauts. That means really strong and powerful. They hit the long ball, they mash extra base hits, but they're not speedy. They're going to make some errors when they're playing defense. Their games are pretty high scoring, maybe like 8-7, 10-9 type games. The next group is called the Defenders. This is a team that's built on defense and run prevention. Now, they don't hit as well as the Sluggers, but they manufacture runs. They do bunting, they sacrifice, they'll run, they'll steal bases. Their strength is mostly about fielding and pitching, and their games are low scoring. So they're going to try to beat you like 3-2, 1-0 type team. All right, so let me hear from you guys. Which team would you rather have? And maybe if you were a player, which team would you rather be on? Yeah, let's go to... Yeah, I think that's the fun part about these questions is there really is no right or wrong answer. And I feel like it just kind of comes down to your personal style. But let's move on from this topic and we'll play a little game here, and it's called Two Truths and a Lie. So give me a thumbs up if you've ever heard of this game before, you've ever played it. Yeah, I think everyone has a thumbs up. So basically, just to kind of go over the rules quickly, even if you've played this before, I'm going to give you 3 facts. Now, I'm putting air quotes here because one of them is not actually a fact. It's totally made up. And it's your job to spot which one is made up, A, B, or C. So here are the 3 baseball facts. Option A says Cy Young had the most wins of all time and the most losses of all time for any pitcher. All right, so that's option A. Option B, no player has ever won multiple MVPs at different positions and with different teams. So that's option B. It's tough already, but I'm going to give you option C too. The first home run derby was in 1985 and was won by Dave Parker of the Cincinnati Reds? All right, so remember, two of these are true. One of them is totally made up. Let me hear which way you guys are leaning. Even if you don't know for sure, let's take an educated guess here, and we'll go to... All right, so it's interesting that a lot of you said A or B. A couple people did go with C, but it seems like the majority of you were thinking A or B. I'll spill the beans here. Our first truth is A. Cy Young, he did have over 500 wins, over 300 losses, both the most of all time. Option C was actually our second truth here. So Dave Parker won the home run derby. It was in 1985. And that was the first home run derby ever, which means that our lie is coming from B, that no player had ever won multiple MVPs at different positions and with different teams. Not true, because Alex Rodriguez pulled this off. 2003, he won the AL MVP while playing for the Rangers. He was a shortstop at the time, and a couple of years when he switched to the Yankees, they already had a shortstop, Derek Jeter, so A-Rod became the third baseman there. Didn't really slow him down. He won MVP again, and he became the only player to win 2 MVPs at 2 different positions and with 2 different teams. So good job to those of you who said B on that 2 truths and a lie question. So our last topic for today, I'm very curious to hear what you guys have to say about this, but which position do you think is the most difficult? Like, what presents the most challenges on the baseball field? I know a lot of people say being a catcher is tough. You have to wear a lot of equipment. You're crouched down for most of the game. But man, it's not easy playing outfield either. You have to go rob home runs. You got to run a lot of distance, and you're very far from the ball when it's hit. So let me hear what you think about this question, guys. This will be our last topic for today, and we'll go to... Yeah, again, there are really no right or wrong answers to this one either, but I didn't think many of you were going to pick first base, but it seems like just the fact that you have to scoop the ball up a lot, that's obviously a challenge that you don't really have at the other positions as much. All right, so we are going to wrap up. Any last questions or comments, guys? We just have a couple minutes here in class. All right, so we are good to go then. I will see everyone next week. Have a great rest of your weekend, guys. Thanks for coming. If you would like to unmute, you can do that now and say goodbye. Bye, everybody. All right, so that is it. I just clicked end live meeting on Zoom, and I'm good to go. On Outschool, you don't have to leave any feedback for parents or anything like that. My classes don't have homework, so we are good to go. And I can start preparing for my next class, which is similar to this, but it's all about football. So we do the same style, same lesson structure, just change baseball to football, so it's pretty simple. Thanks everyone for watching. You can leave a comment below. How does my class compare to your class if you are already a teacher? And what did you think of my general lesson structure? If you want to apply to Outschool, don't forget to use that link below and shoot me an email. We'll get in touch and I can help you get hired. See you next time.